GM and welcome back to Chop City. An update on the markets here, primarily looking at the correlation between Chinese and Hong Kong based stocks and BTC and trying to see what the driving force is in the market right now. Is this cope or is there some alpha within this? We're going to have a little look today. If you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So BTC here, as you can see, this is an hourly time frame since the breakdown last Friday when we nuked through 23.7, went all the way down to 22.7 at the lows there. We've pretty much been chopping in this range with many participants on Twitter getting extremely bullish when we get near the top here, and then getting very bearish when we get near the bottom. So nothing really changes here in the crypto Twitter space. You get this almost bipolar kind of behavior. All the bears come out when the price is going down, all the bulls come out when the price is going up, and it can be a little bit confusing. However, what we can see here, Bitcoin's just chopping sideways, and most of the other majors, ETH, Litecoin, Polygon, etc. are also doing very similar patterns here. So kind of indecision in this market. Now, key areas that Eric Crown pointed out earlier on his analysis was 22.7. This is the wick low that we actually hit last Saturday at 8 p.m. UTC. So that 22.7K region must hold. If we break below here, even on an hourly closing basis, we're looking a lot lower. So that would be a kind of cut all positions and run for the hills sign, in my opinion. For me, not financial advice, as this does open up a bit of a trapdoor quite a bit of a ways further down. However, the longer we consolidate in this area, things are starting to look like we could get a break towards the upside. There's a lot of shorts in the market right now as well, so there could be a potential short squeeze to break us out of here back into the 24s, maybe even test the range highs 25.2. But we'll have to see how that develops. So onto the China meme. Is it real? Is it fake? Last week, we did the first kind of coverage of this, looking at some indexes over in China and trying to establish whether there was serious bid from Chinese participants or the region of Asia more broadly or not. And as we can see, TED Talks Macro has been really on this kind of trend here, and he's been posting up some interesting graphs. This one being the magnitude of easing versus tightening. The more tightening, the darker the red. The more easing, the darker the blue. And as we can see from this, China, Russia, definitely in a phase of quantitative easing. China, of course, coming out of zero COVID. They're trying to stimulate their economies yet again. Russia, since being cut off from the rest of the world with SWIFT ties, seemingly just printing and printing and printing as well. And we could potentially say, as devil's advocate here, that they're trying to export inflation on the West, which is maybe a likely scenario here. So in this kind of period, we're seeing a lot of QE in these areas, a lot of QT in these areas, which has brought about this meme around, is China max bidding? Is the bid now coming from the East for crypto markets? As these are obviously worldwide markets, they're not just in the West, they're not just in the East, but participants in this ecosystem are a worldwide target audience. So interestingly, this is the Seng Index. So this is an index of companies from China and Hong Kong, and it has had its first major bounce here in quite a bit of time. So since the November low, or the 31st of October was the exact bottom tick there, we obviously had a nice run up here. This also kind of comes into a line quite neatly with the bottom of BTC, so there could be some correlation within that. But then we've started to pull back since that local top was put in at 22,600, and that was over a period of 21 days. So 3 weeks down here, over which time frame we've had BTC consolidating and not really being able to break out. So could there be a correlation between the bid coming back in for the Asian markets here and Bitcoin going up? So support resistance flip on the chart there. The candle yesterday, there was some good economic data over in China, plus a load of stocks really rebounded quite hard as well. There was kind of this 3.5–4% move here just yesterday. It gapped down upon the open today, but the Hang Seng is definitely up from the lows just 2 days ago. 19,805, 20,429 right now. So one index in the East, let's look at one from the West, of course, the SP500. This downtrend has been respected thus far, but as you can see, squeaky bum time as it comes down and hits the trend line yet again. So around 39.50 is the magic number, and that's pretty much where it stopped yesterday upon the market close. So US equities not doing particularly well, but if we are to bounce, this looks like the key region from which we would bounce. So another chart from TED. Recently, Bitcoin has been more attentive to what is happening in Asia than what has been going on in the US, he says. As you can see from that black line, which is BTC USD versus the Chinese stocks, the Hang Seng in the amber or orange line there. And then we have the Nasdaq down here, which is the pink line. So from this, you can see within the last month, there has been more correlation with the Hang Seng Index. Black and orange lines are following each other quite well there. Whereas we've had a breakdown from US tech stocks, but it hasn't really affected Bitcoin much. Bitcoin is just chopped sideways as we have the index from the east being supportive here, but the index from the west being non-supportive here. But the thing that catches my attention more obviously is the fact that when both indices in the east and the west tick up, like this period here, pink line go up, orange line go up, black line go up a lot. So there's definitely at this point no clear definitive yes, Chinese stocks and Bitcoin are now highly correlated. What we can see though is when all stock markets are printing green numbers, Bitcoin goes up a lot more, plays the higher beta superbly well, and you get bigger returns from Bitcoin. But I would say at this moment in time, with just a few months of data to really look at here, there's just nothing concrete to say Chinese bid equals bullish for Bitcoin. But the potentiality for an SP 500 break to the downside, maybe we wouldn't do it on the first time, maybe it would come later. So this is my kind of theory here, that we would get a bounce from this region. Even if you're bearish, we maybe put in the right shoulder, this being the left shoulder here, kind of mirror that, come up to this kind of region here, maybe 4100s, and see a nice bounce off this blue trend line, which has been held quite well. Bob Lucas did post this earlier. Still no sign of a new cycle for stocks, but should be, in theory, imminent. A new cycle should also help lift Bitcoin, which appears to be waiting from a higher level. And TD9 buy signals have been posted here for the SPX. So Bob's analysis could well be right here. We could be on the imminent precipice of a bit of bid in the US equity space, which would further bolster the likelihood of Bitcoin ticking up if we have support from the Hang Seng, plus the S&P 500. The correlation definitely is there for when both of those are bullish. Bitcoin will be bullish. US markets, there's some movers today. Coming up are unemployment claims later today, 1:30 UTC. The forecast, 196,000 unemployment claims. The previous was 192,000. You've also got some FOMC members speaking later on as well. And then into Friday, more FOMC members speak yet again, but it's not until next week that we have some big numbers come in. So this would be, but it is next Friday where the big data comes out. Non-farm payrolls, 517,000. A massive surprise to the upside occurred in last month's data, and this one sent quite a few shockwaves throughout the industry. Crypto Twitter went mental, and a load of macro talking heads were like, how the heck has this figure occurred? So should be pretty easy to actually beat that one. That was a huge high print, which then of course feeds into the unemployment rates in the US. But then we look forward to Tuesday the 14th of March with the February CPI data coming out in the US. And this will be the big market mover, as this will dictate what the FOMC does in their next meeting, which is on Wednesday, March 22nd. I'll provide an update to this sequence of videos looking at Chinese stocks, US stocks, and BTC in approximately one more week from here, as this is a decent time frame to try and get some form of opinion on it. But with this kind of calendar we have for the rest of March, it wouldn't be surprising if by the end of this box, which is March 22nd, the FOMC press conference, we'll probably be somewhere in and around this range still. So from here, March looking like a rather choppy month. I would love to hear your opinions on this down below in the comment section. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.